For 20,000 years, the galaxy had been silent. No ships from humanity, no signals, no signs of life from the stars they once ruled. Many thought humans had disappeared forever. The other alien races grew comfortable, living their lives, without fear. But deep in the dark corners of space, something was stirring. It started with small signals. Strange, faint waves that no one could understand. They came from a place no one had visited in centuries. The edge of the galaxy. At first, the aliens ignored them. They thought it was just space noise. But the signals kept coming, growing stronger, more complex. One alien race, the Zelvans, noticed the change first. Their sensors picked up unusual movement near a forgotten star system. When they sent a scout ship to investigate, it never returned. Panic spread among the Zelvan leaders. What was happening at the edge of space? The story follows a young Zelvan diplomat named Kale. He was curious and brave, unlike many others who preferred to stay safe. When the council called for answers, Kale volunteered to go on a secret mission to find out the truth. No one knew what he would find, but everyone feared the worst. Kale's ship crossed the dark space towards the edge. The silence around him was heavy, almost alive. Suddenly, his sensors lit up. Dozens of ships appeared on his screen. They were old, huge ships covered in scars and rust, floating like ghosts from another time. Kyle's heart raced. These were the ghost fleet of humanity, the ships that vanished 20,000 years ago. They were back. But why? And what did they want? As Kale moved closer, a sudden attack hit his ship. Laser beams cut through the dark and his shields barely held. He barely escaped, sending a warning to the Zelvan Council. The ghost fleet was real, and it was dangerous. News spread fast. The galaxy's leaders gathered in fear. No one wanted war, but no one wanted to be caught unprepared. Kale was called to explain what he had seen. He told them about the silent fleet, about the attack, about the fear he felt. Some believed humanity was gone forever. Others thought the ghosts were a myth, but now no one could ignore the threat. The silence had been broken, and the galaxy was awake. Meanwhile, the humans on the ghost fleet moved with purpose. They had waited in secret, hidden in a distant nebula, growing stronger. They knew their time had come. Their ancestors had warned them that one day they would rise again. The leader of the fleet was a commander named Arik. He was calm but fierce. He remembered the old wars and the pain humanity had suffered. The humans were not here for peace, they were here for justice. As the first battle began, Kyle watched from his ship. The humans moved fast, striking hard and disappearing into the dark. Their technology was far beyond what the aliens expected. The galaxy's fate was changing. Kale wondered, was there still hope? Could anyone stop the ghost fleet? Or was humanity's return the start of a new war that would destroy everything? The silence was over. The galaxy held its breath. For many years, the galaxy had only stories about humanity's great ships, the ghost fleet. No one had seen them for 20,000 years. But now, the silence was broken. The ghost fleet was real, and it was more powerful than anyone had guessed. Deep inside a hidden place far from the eyes of the galaxy, the humans moved quietly. Their ships floated like shadows in the dark. No one knew where they came from or what they planned next. The aliens called them ghosts because they seemed to appear and disappear without warning. The humans had not forgotten the past. They remembered the long years of peace, but also the time when they were pushed away and thought lost. Now they had grown stronger in silence. Their ships were fast, smart, and full of new technology that amazed everyone. The story follows a human commander named Arik. He was wise and calm. He did not rush. He believed that patience was a powerful weapon. Arik looked at the stars and thought about the future. His fleet was ready, but he waited for the right moment. Meanwhile, the other races in the galaxy were scared and confused. They had many questions. Why had humanity returned after so long? Were they here to make friends? Or did they want something else? The answer was not clear. An important meeting was called on a space station near the center of the galaxy. The leaders of many alien worlds gathered there. They talked in whispers. Some were worried about the humans. Others hoped they could find a way to live together. Among the leaders was a Zelvan named Kale. He had seen the ghost fleet with his own eyes. Kale felt the weight of his people's fear and hope. He spoke carefully, telling the group what he learned on his last mission. "We cannot ignore them," Kyle said. "The humans are not the same as before. Their ships are powerful and they move with a purpose. We must understand them before it is too late." Some leaders did not trust Kale's words. They believed humanity was a ghost from the past, a story that could not hurt them anymore. But Kyle knew better. He could feel the change in the air. Back on the hidden human fleet, Arik called a meeting with his officers. They spoke softly, planning their next steps. Arik shared his vision for the future, one where humanity could stand strong again and protect what they cared about. "Patience," he said. "We wait, but we do not hide. When the time comes, we will show the galaxy who we are." Arik's second in command, a young officer named Lyra, was eager. She wanted to prove herself. She asked many questions about their mission and future battles. Arik smiled, knowing the fleet needed new hope. As days passed, strange signals came from the other side of the galaxy. Some ships moved closer to the hidden human fleet. The humans watched silently. They did not panic. They were ready to respond if needed. One night, as Arik stood on the bridge of his ship, he saw a small alien scout ship enter their space. It was quiet, not aggressive. The humans decided to capture it and learn more about the other race's thoughts and fears. Lyra led the team to bring the scout ship aboard. The alien pilot was surprised but unharmed. The humans treated him with respect and asked many questions. The pilot told stories about the galaxy's fear of the ghost fleet and the hopes for peace. The humans listened carefully. They understood that their return had caused a ripple across the stars. Some feared them. Some wanted answers. Arik realized they must be careful in how they acted next. The scout pilot also spoke of a new danger, a force growing in the dark spaces between stars. Neither humans nor aliens fully understood it yet, but it was coming closer. This made the humans' return even more important. Arik gathered his officers again. "We are not alone in this," he said. "The galaxy is changing fast. We must be ready for what comes next." The story grows with tension. The humans are no longer hidden, but they are not fully known. The other races watch with hope and fear, and the unknown threat waits in the dark. Will the humans and aliens find a way to understand each other? Or will the fear of the ghost fleet lead to more trouble? The answers lie ahead, in the silence between the stars. The stars had grown colder, and the galaxy watched with held breath. The sudden appearance of humanity's ghost fleet was no longer a secret. But what exactly were the humans planning? No one knew for sure. The silence that had lasted for thousands of years was broken, but the true purpose behind the fleet's return was still a mystery. Among the many watching the events unfold was Kale, the young Zelvan diplomat. He had seen the power of the ghost fleet firsthand. Yet there was something different now, a change in the way humanity moved and acted. It was not just strength, it was a deep calm, a confidence that came from knowing their place in the stars. Kyle's thoughts were interrupted by a call from the council. The alien leaders had decided to send a delegation to meet the humans. They hoped for answers. Kyle was chosen to lead the meeting. It was a great honor, but also a heavy burden. The future of many worlds might depend on what happened next. Kale prepared for the journey. He felt a mix of hope and fear. What if the humans saw them as enemies? What if their answers were not what the galaxy wanted to hear? Yet he knew this was the only way to find peace, or at least understand the new threat. The journey to the human fleet was long and filled with silence. Kale's ship moved carefully through space, finally reaching the edge of the human nebula, where the ghost ships hid. The sight was breathtaking. Massive ships floated like giants among the stars, their surfaces shimmering with strange lights. When Kale's ship docked, he was greeted by Commander Arik himself. The human leader was calm and polite, but his eyes held stories of centuries. Arik invited Kyle aboard the flagship where they could talk privately. The meeting began with careful words. Arik spoke of humanity's past, the long years of silence and the hope for a new future. He told of the humans' desire to protect their place in the galaxy, not to conquer or destroy. But he also warned that the galaxy was not safe anymore. There were dangers rising from the dark spaces between stars, forces that could threaten everyone. Kale listened closely, feeling the weight of Arik's words. The humans had waited for the right moment, preparing not just to return, but to protect all who wished for peace. The Zelvan diplomat began to understand that this was more than a simple return. It was a new beginning. As the talks continued, a sudden alert broke the calm. Sensors detected unknown ships approaching fast. The humans moved quickly but carefully, preparing for contact rather than battle. The new ships were unlike anything seen before, strange shapes and colors that seemed alive. Kale watched as the human crew worked in silence. The calm determination was clear. These were not ships for war, but for survival. The unknown visitors sent signals, and the humans responded in kind, trying to communicate. For hours, the tension grew. No one knew what the new arrivals wanted. Then, finally, a message was received. A warning. The new ship spoke of a shadow moving through the galaxy, something ancient and powerful that threatened all life. The humans and aliens realized they faced a common challenge. Their differences, their fears, seemed small compared to this growing threat. Arik and Kale agreed to send messages to other worlds calling for unity and understanding. As Kale prepared to return to his people, he felt a new hope. The galaxy might still find peace, but it would require trust, courage, and cooperation like never before. The Ghost Fleet was not just a memory or a threat. It was a sign that humanity had returned, ready to face whatever came next. And the galaxy was about to change forever. The galaxy had changed. The sudden return of humanity's Ghost Fleet had stirred hope and fear in equal measure. Now, with the warnings from the mysterious new ships, every world was on edge. No one knew what the future held, but one thing was clear. The galaxy needed answers, and fast. Kale returned to his homeworld, his mind heavy with thoughts. He carried the message from the humans, a call for unity against the growing shadow. The leaders of the Zelvan Council gathered once more, their faces lined with worry. Kyle spoke to them, sharing what he had learned aboard the human flagship. "Turku, threat is real," Kyle said softly. "We cannot face it alone. We must find a way to work with the humans and with others, or we risk losing everything." Some council members hesitated. Memories of past conflicts with humanity lingered, and fear of the unknown still held power. But the urgency in Kale's voice and the truth in the human warnings could not be ignored. Meanwhile, far away in the hidden human fleet, Commander Arik studied the stars. He knew the danger was greater than any single race. The humans had spent centuries preparing, but they needed allies. The old grudges and fears of the past could no longer stand in the way. Arik reached out through secret channels, sending messages to other fleets and worlds. The humans proposed a new alliance, one built on trust and shared purpose. Some answered quickly, hopeful for peace. Others responded with silence or suspicion. Among those who answered was Lyra, the young human officer who had captured the alien scout. She had been given a special mission to meet with representatives from different worlds and build the fragile bonds needed to face the coming threat. Lyra traveled to many places, learning the hopes and fears of those she met. She spoke in simple words, telling stories of humanity's past and their hopes for the future. Slowly, she began to change minds. Not everyone trusted her, but many listened. On one distant planet, Lyra met an elder named Varn. He was wise and patient, a leader among his people. Varn had lived through wars and peace, and he knew the cost of fear. He listened carefully as Lyra spoke. "Your people have waited long," Varn said. "Now, the galaxy needs all its strength. If we do not stand together, we will fall apart. Lyra nodded. She felt a new hope growing inside her. The journey was hard, but it was necessary. The humans could no longer be alone. Back in the galaxy, signs of the Shadow's approach grew stronger. Strange storms appeared in space, blocking communication and movement. Ships reported strange lights and noises from the dark. The threat was no longer a distant story. It was close. Auric gathered his commanders. "We must be ready," he said. "The time of waiting is ending. We will face this together or not at all." Kale and Lyra met again, their worlds connected by the same goal. Together they worked to prepare their people for what was coming. The galaxy was changing, and old fears would have to be left behind. In the silence between the stars, a new hope was born. The Ghost Fleet was no longer just a legend. It was a symbol of unity and strength. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in many years it was bright. The galaxy seemed to hold its breath, waiting for what was to come. The growing shadow had become more than a rumor or a distant threat. It was now a reality that could not be ignored. The strange storms and unexplained disruptions were spreading across the star systems, slowing travel and cutting off communication. Every world felt the tension, even those far from the center of the conflict. In the midst of this uncertainty, Kyle and Lyra continued their work. They had become unlikely allies, representing different worlds but united by a shared hope. Their meetings were filled with long talks, plans, and sometimes disagreements. But the truth was clear. Cooperation was the only way forward. Kyle remembered the first time he met Lyra aboard the human flagship. She had been eager and full of questions, yet calm in her way. Over time, their respect for each other grew. They understood that their differences were less important than the future they hoped to protect. Meanwhile, the humans worked quietly in the shadows, preparing their fleet for the inevitable. Auric's leadership was steady and thoughtful. He did not rush decisions but listened to all voices around him. The humans knew they could not face the coming challenges alone. A new problem arose when a communication relay was damaged by the strange storms. This relay was crucial. It connected many star systems and allowed leaders to share information quickly. Without it, rumors and fear began to grow. False stories spread about the humans and the Ghost Fleet, making some worlds distrustful. Lyra was sent to repair the relay, traveling to a small but important outpost. The journey was difficult, the storms threatening to push her ship off course. But she remained focused, knowing the importance of her mission. When she arrived, she found the outpost in chaos. The local inhabitants were scared and unsure who to trust. Lyra spoke with them patiently, explaining the true situation and the need to work together. Her words brought calm, and she helped organize the repair teams. As the relay was restored, a new message arrived from the distant parts of the galaxy. It spoke of explorers who had discovered signs of the shadow's source, an enormous dark cloud moving slowly but steadily. This cloud was unlike anything seen before, shifting and changing as if it was alive. The leaders knew they had little time left. Kale and Lyra joined Auric and other commanders in a large meeting aboard the flagship. They shared all the information they had gathered and began to form a plan. The plan was simple but bold. They would send teams to study the dark cloud, hoping to learn what it was and how to stop it. These teams would be made up of humans and aliens, working side by side for the first time. Kyle looked around the room, seeing faces full of hope and fear. "We face something unknown," he said softly. "But together we are stronger." Lyra nodded. "This is the chance to prove that we can protect the galaxy, if we stand united." As the teams prepared to leave, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath once more. The journey into the unknown would be long and dangerous, but it was also a chance for new beginnings, for friendships, and for hope. The Ghost Fleet was no longer just a memory or a warning. It was a promise that humanity and the galaxy would face the future together, no matter what came next. The dark cloud loomed ahead, a vast and shifting shadow against the stars. The teams sent from the human fleet and their alien allies moved cautiously toward it, The unknown stretched out before them, full of questions that no one could yet answer. Commander Arik stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the strange forms in space. His face was calm, but inside his thoughts raced. The fate of many worlds rested on what they would discover. This mission was unlike any before. It was a chance to protect the galaxy and prove that humanity's return was not just a story, but a force for hope. Kale and Lyra were aboard the lead ship, working closely with the scientists and explorers. They shared their knowledge, their fears, and their hopes. This mission was more than a test of strength. It was a test of trust. As they moved closer, strange readings filled their instruments. The cloud was not just gas or dust. It seemed alive, changing its shape and form as if it was aware of their presence. The team sent probes, but many were lost or returned with strange signals that no one could understand. Despite the dangers, the crew worked with quiet determination. Lyra watched as scientists and soldiers, humans and aliens, worked side by side. She felt a growing pride in their unity and strength. Suddenly, one of the probes sent back a clear signal. It showed something deep inside the cloud, a vast structure, unlike anything known. It looked ancient and powerful, a place that might hold the answers. The leaders decided to send a small team to explore this structure. Arik, Kale, and Lyra volunteered to go. They knew the risks but also understood the importance of this mission. Inside the structure, they found halls filled with strange lights and symbols. The walls seemed to hum with energy. It was clear that this place was built by a civilization, long gone but still alive in some way. As they moved deeper, the structure revealed a message, one of warning and hope. It spoke of a force that had once threatened many worlds and was now returning. But it also spoke of unity and strength, of the power to overcome darkness through cooperation. Arik looked at Kyle and Lyra. "This is our chance," he said, "to show that we can face the future together." They returned to their ships, bringing the message back to the fleet. It was a moment of hope and a call to action. The galaxy was no longer divided by fear or past conflicts. The future was theirs to shape. The Ghost Fleet was not just a fleet of ships. It was a symbol of resilience, unity, and hope. Humanity's long silence had ended, but their story was just beginning. As the fleet moved away from the dark cloud, the leaders knew their journey was far from over. But for the first time in a long time, the stars seemed brighter, and the future held promise. The galaxy was watching. The Ghost Fleet had returned, not to bring war but to bring a new dawn.